Zion Williamson entered the NBA with an almost mythical reputation.
Zion went down, looked like he hyperextended his leg. He is down, slipped, perhaps some perspiration on the floor, and
a powerfully built force whose highlights electrified high school gyms and Duke's raucous crowd.
Off the heel, but Brandon's got a second chance. How about that pass to Zion? Yes!
Fans expected a generational phenom who'd redefine how forwards played, crushing rims and opponents alike.
We want Zion! We want Zion!
But after multiple seasons plagued by never-ending injuries and swift disappearances, that towering promise feels like an illusion. Is Zion truly the transformative star many believed he could be, or has he become a poser in street clothes? But first, a quick heads up, our brand new Hoop Hype store is open. Grab hoodies, tees, and mugs to showcase your love for the game. Hit the link in the description or tap View Products to support the channel. Zion Williamson's journey to NBA stardom began years before his official rookie season. As a high schooler, he rocketed to fame with viral dunks so powerful they seemed to defy physics. Millions watched his clips on social media, marveling at how a teenager could blend a big man's frame with a guard's agility. The narrative only intensified at Duke, where he averaged eye-popping numbers, leaped out of the gym, and sent jaws dropping weekly. By the time draft night arrived, analysts compared him to generational icons.
The 2019 NBA Draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Zion Williamson from Duke University.
Anticipating he'd revolutionize forward play. When the New Orleans Pelicans secured the top pick, fans across the globe declared the franchise saved. They pictured a resurrected small market contender, carried by Zion's unstoppable drives and paint dominance. His summer league cameo, albeit brief, teased the raw power that made him a social media darling. Worn-out college defenders were replaced by legitimate pros, but Zion still delivered bursts of staggering athleticism, reminders that his potential soared above typical rookies. Beyond the highlights, experts touted his unteachable traits, explosiveness, uncanny court vision for his position, and a presence that demanded defensive adjustments. He was the can't-miss prospect, a label rarely bestowed so confidently since perhaps Anthony Davis or LeBron James. The Pelicans, determined to maximize this spark, surrounded him with complementary young talent. The blueprint was to let him run wild, forging a new brand of inside-out offense where he'd thrive. Nevertheless, as soon as talk turned serious about his long-term role, concerns started creeping in. People whispered about his unique build, 6'6" or 6'7", but well over 280 pounds, potentially exposing his knees and ankles to punishing stress. Some worried whether that dynamic style would hold up under an 82-game grind. Others waved away such doubts, citing how unstoppable he seemed when he got airborne. For a moment, the hype overshadowed everything else. Zion was viewed as generational, unstoppable, and the next major face of the NBA. Barely into his rookie season, Zion Williamson gave fans a worrisome glimpse of what would become a repeating cycle. A knee injury sidelined him just as anticipation reached fever pitch. True, once he returned, glimpses of sensational talent popped up, high percentage field goals, and unstoppable attacks in the paint. Yet, each new dawn swiftly dimmed. Something always went wrong. A minor tweak here, a flare-up there, sometimes even a puzzling soreness that stretched into weeks of bench time. By his second and third years, the pattern was hauntingly familiar. The Pelicans would build momentum behind whatever core remained healthy. Fans would excitedly track Zion's almost ready updates, and media outlets would release hype pieces about his looming comeback. Then suddenly, he'd vanish again, leaving half the season lost to injury. For a team starving for sustained success, each high was overshadowed by a deeper, more drawn-out low. Critics dubbed him fragile, though some insisted it was just bad luck. Indeed, players can't always dodge unfortunate collisions or awkward landings. However, the frequency of Zion's setbacks suggests more than mere happenstance. Repeated foot surgeries, knee strains, and hamstring issues point to a body taxed beyond typical thresholds. Many watchers started to believe his weight, combined with an explosive style, placed unsustainable stress on his frame. Fan patience eroded with each passing absence. Pelican supporters who'd pinned hopes on a star that would save them from perennial underachievement realized they rarely had their star on the floor. Missed national TV games further dampened league-wide enthusiasm. Outside the market, casual viewers grew skeptical. The highlight reel dunker who had once enthralled them in college was absent more than present. The storyline pivoted from he's unstoppable to he's unstoppable when he plays. This roller coaster drained the franchise's synergy too. It's difficult to establish consistent roles or lineups when your central figure rotates in and out with minimal warning. Young players found themselves carrying unexpected loads. Veterans tried to compensate for an absent star. Head coaches struggled to implement cohesive strategies when rosters were never fully healthy. Each cameo from Zion teased what could be, a mesmerizing display of power and finesse. But it was ephemeral. Fans left arenas muttering the same refrain. When will he string together a stretch of games? From the outset, Zion Williamson's size drove both excitement and unease. At 6'6" or 6'7", carrying anywhere from 280 to over 300 pounds, his raw power was breathtaking. Initially, fans likened him to a modern Charles Barkley or a more athletic Larry Johnson, figures who use sheer bulk and explosiveness to overpower defenders. But as the injuries piled up, so did speculation that carrying that much weight stressed his joints to a dangerous level. Even well-connected insiders hinted that dietary discipline wasn't his strong suit. Rumors floated about fast food binges, or insufficient workout regimens during the off-season or while injured. Though these tidbits remained mostly unverified, the consistent pattern of returning to the floor seemingly out of shape fed the narrative. People questioned, could better conditioning mitigate these recurring foot, knee, or hamstring issues? Zion occasionally looked leaner in training camp photos, prompting media excitement for a breakout year, yet within weeks some minor injury would sideline him again, fueling chatter that once he stops playing, his weight creeps back quickly. The Pelicans, from all accounts, invested heavily in specialized nutrition and top-tier trainers to help him manage this unique body type. Results, however, remained inconsistent. When physically dialed in, Zion's unstoppable spin moves and gravity-defying leaps reminded watchers why he was a can't-miss prospect. But these fleeting glimpses never endured long enough to reassure skeptics. Over time, the question shifted from can he adapt to will he ever commit to a more sustainable approach? That approach likely necessitates not only diet changes, but also refining his style to reduce the intense strain on his knees and ankles. For New Orleans, the dream scenario was crystal clear. Build around a transcendent star whose presence would anchor them for a decade. Instead, the Pelicans face an unrelenting puzzle. Each season starts with optimism, featuring glimpses of a healthy Zion in preseason or early games, only to crumble when he lands on the injury report for weeks, even months. The sheer unpredictability of his availability disrupts everything from chemistry to ticket sales. Head coach Willie Green, like his predecessors, finds himself constantly reshuffling lineups. Instead of forging a stable identity around the unstoppable force that is a fully operational Zion, the staff improvises on the fly. Role players must ascend into featured roles, while potential synergy with Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum never consistently forms. Opponents can't fear what they seldom face. When Zion sporadically returns, the team attempts to readjust to his imposing style, but just as they acclimate, he's often gone again. Pelicans management, meanwhile, wrestles with how best to handle him. On one hand, they must protect an investment representing countless marketing dollars and the hopes of a small market franchise. A major trade or public rift would spark uproar, further diminishing fan morale. On the other hand, if they keep tiptoeing around his injuries and questionable conditioning, they might sink into another cycle of underachievement, never contending, always waiting for the next Zion comeback. Fans within New Orleans and beyond have grown restless. Some argue that the front office is coddling him. Others claim they're incompetent for not better controlling their diet or training. Season after season, the narrative barely changes. Zion's about to return. Zion's unstoppable in practice. Zion's out for another indefinite stretch. The faith that once fueled the city has begun to flicker, replaced by cynicism. Every time Zion Williamson returns from an injury, the Pelicans marketing team unleashes the excitement. Social media posts of him dunking in practice, local news segments hyping Zion is back tonight, and fans dreaming of a late season surge. Then comes the highlight moment, maybe a breathtaking 360 dunk or a savage putback slam that lights up every sports channel. For a brief moment, it feels like all is forgiven. People see that unstoppable locomotive they remember from Duke or earlier short spells in the league. But within days, sometimes just a single back-to-back, Zion's name resurfaces on the injury report. Hamstring tightness, knee soreness, or a vague out for rest line. The cycle restarts. Indefinite timeline. Daily questions to the coach about his status. Speculation from media about how soon he'll be 100%. Each incomplete return stings a bit more than the last, fueling cynics who say they refuse to buy into the hype again. This on and off routine deeply affects the Pelicans' synergy. When a star re-enters the lineup, the team modifies its schemes to accommodate his paint dominance. Spacing changes, certain players shift to off-ball roles, and defensive rotations revolve around Zion's presence. Then, if he's missing again 2 games later, the lineup must revert, often losing the cohesion they spent hours building. As a result, the entire team stays in a perpetual adjustment phase, rarely performing as a cohesive unit. Fans, too, are mentally whiplashed. They might invest emotionally in a must-win scenario, expecting a healthy Zion, only to see him vanish again. Online message boards filled with jokes. He's just collecting highlights for a documentary, or he's unstoppable, except by a cheeseburger. This comedic frustration underscores the sense of betrayal that creeps in when a player with generational promise repeatedly disappoints by not even suiting up. Meanwhile, Zion's public statements wear thin. Each time he insists he's dedicated to rehab and that he's been working hard. His post-game press conferences might feature contrite tones about doing better or being there for my teammates. But words lose weight after a certain point. Every comeback accompanied by a highlight reel quickly disintegrates into another indefinite absence. The comedic phrase, "you can't keep getting away with this," captures the exasperation many feel. Without a radical shift in either his durability or approach, the cycle seems destined to spin on, making each dramatic return ring hollow. Once upon a time, Zion Williamson was a marketing goldmine, plastered across billboards and featured in highlight reels that promised the next unstoppable force. But disillusionment now clouds that narrative. Social media teems with frustration, labeling him a part-time player, or more harshly, an absolute joke. That mocking tag stems from a star who draws millions in endorsements, yet is seldom available for the actual on-court product. On talk shows and major networks, the tone has shifted. Initially, analysts extended his sympathy. "He's young, give him time," they insisted, but with each passing season of extended layoffs, that patience erodes. Some, like Charles Barkley, have bluntly criticized Zion for failing to keep his body in game shape, calling it a disservice to fans who expect nightly heroics. This condemnation resonates with those who recall unstoppable icons like Shaquille O'Neal or Kevin Garnett, also big men with punishing styles, but who managed consistent play when it mattered. Of course, a segment of fans remains defensive, pointing out that the Pelicans might be overly cautious or that freak accidents aren't always a reflection of poor conditioning. They argue that joke is a cruel descriptor for someone who, when healthy, is a top-tier force. Yet even these supporters often concede that the pattern of showing up for a few highlight plays only to recede into a haze of indefinite soreness fosters comedic exasperation. In general, content creators and fans express resentment, feeling misled by constant hype cycles. The Pelicans hype each impending Zion return, the league's marketing machine picks up the storyline, and then reality falls flat. The harsh label, "an absolute joke," underscores a sense that fans are tired of drama overshadowing substance. They want reliability, consistent star power, or at least transparency about how close or far he is from genuine long-term readiness. For New Orleans, this entire situation is more than just a star's repeated health battles. It's a franchise-altering dilemma. They built around Zion Williamson, marketing him as the centerpiece of a new era. They adjusted lineups, parted ways with certain veterans, and made deals to complement his explosiveness. Each year, hope soared that a healthy Zion would propel them to the playoffs, or even beyond, but the results rarely matched the lofty aspirations. Long-term, the Pelicans must weigh the risk of continuing to revolve around a player who can't be counted on for consistency. If he only provides half a season or fewer of actual on-court presence, does that justify building the entire system around him? Team executives see the potential for a star-led contender, but is that potential enough to overlook repeated derailments? The frustration isn't just about short-term wins, it's about organizational stability and the path forward. Trade speculation inevitably surfaces whenever high-profile players falter. Some fans believe the franchise should proactively explore what his value might yield, whether that's draft picks or a more reliable star. Others panic at such talk, letting a generational athlete flourish elsewhere could become an eternal regret if he suddenly becomes durable at age 26 or 27. Teammates like Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum also face uncertainty. They occasionally produce strong results, but rarely get extended runs alongside their alleged superstar partner. This stunts synergy and fosters a whiplash effect. Are they a star-laden team or an underdog squad missing its best piece? Finally, from a financial standpoint, paying near-max salaries to a part-time player ties up significant cap space. If those resources yield little on-court continuity, the Pelicans remain in a perpetual rebuild limbo, always retooling around a star who rarely arrives. For a smaller market, each misstep is magnified. Losing fans' enthusiasm could threaten ticket sales and brand engagement. Zion Williamson could still alter the narrative if he commits to transformative changes. Fans who label him a joke today might celebrate him tomorrow if he dedicates an off-season to an extreme fitness overhaul, dropping extra weight and reinforcing his body to handle 82 games plus playoffs. Many star big men overcame early career injury woes. Joel Embiid famously missed nearly 2 full seasons, then matured into an MVP caliber center. Could Zion mirror that turnaround? This path, however, demands more than just flashes of diligence. It requires unwavering discipline, adopting a strict diet, regularly engaging in specialized workouts, and refining his playing style to limit avoidable strain on knees and ankles. Instead of launching into the air for every highlight dunk, he might rely on footwork and post moves, preserving his legs for when explosiveness truly matters. A newly balanced approach could keep him on the floor consistently, letting him harness his gifts fully. Conversely, if Zion resists such adjustments, the cycle may not break. Another hamstring strain here, a knee twinge there, and another 20 to 30 missed games. Fans will tire further, and the Pelicans will consider bigger gambles. If he coasts on raw ability without addressing fundamental flaws, the hype could evolve into outright derision, cementing him as a cautionary tale of wasted potential. Yet even if he commits wholeheartedly to improvement, there's the question of how many injuries have already taken a toll. Chronic foot or knee issues can limit the longevity of big men reliant on bursts of athleticism. He can shift his style, but will that overshadow the cumulative wear and tear he's already endured? Zion Williamson's saga is a paradox, a player of extraordinary gifts who teases fans with fleeting brilliance, only to vanish into endless injury lists and conditioning doubts. Despite early accolades and comparisons to legends, he's delivered more hope than tangible results. Each comeback stokes excitement, then swiftly falters as a new soreness emerges. An absolute joke might sound harsh, but it captures the letdown many feel when a generational prospect repeatedly fails to show up. The road to redemption is still open, yet every delayed return further erodes belief in that promise. But with that being said, please let us know your thoughts down below, and before you scroll past, don't forget to visit our Hoopshipe store. Rep your passion for basketball with our exclusive hoodies, tees, and mugs. Thanks for supporting us, and stay locked in for more detailed NBA insights, displayed on screen.